sweetheart.
You hungry? You hungry? Hey, sweetie. Mhm. There you go, buddy. There you go. You want some more stuff, yeah? Good lord. Mm-hmm. Good boy. That's the thing I'm wrestling with this morning. It's something that a lot of functional people deal with their whole lives. You know, we all kind of live in a world, and probably always have, where it's very difficult to just do what you want and to follow your passions. You know, because certain responsibilities need to be met, bills need to be paid, etc. But not only that, I mean, I think, you know, it's pretty easy for anybody to pay bills these days. Well, I mean, maybe, depending on your situation, but there's various safety nets and things in place for people. If you're willing to compromise your material status and compromise the possibilities that that brings, then you can do that. Now, hopefully, if you're pretty intentional about that, even slowly intentional, then you can get to a place where you can then uh, begin to make a good living from your passion. But that carries its own risks because there's no safety net when you provide your own means. And anybody who's done that for a considerable period of time will tell you that that's, you know, largely up and down affair. And it takes a long time to learn the ropes yourself. It's far easier to align yourself with other people and organizations. And that comes with its own compromises and hardships. Now, successful people are probably the ones who can negotiate that journey the best, handle the social dynamics, and ideally, you know, gain somewhat fulfillment from the work they do. But I imagine a lot of people don't want to work for anybody. A lot of people presently don't have the skill set to do it. And it takes a lot of work on yourself to be able to manage those kinds of things. I wonder if everybody just carves out their own world within their own jobs. I think that's what people do. They carve out, the ones who sort of seem successful, they carve something out within the organization that they're in, and they navigate that well. Perhaps they're able to create something within that organization, and perhaps they get credit for it, but it's not theirs. It belongs to the company that they're aligned with. Ownership's a funny thing. There's a huge trend away from ownership right now. I've been trying to buy a lot of Blu-rays and things and CDs and stuff of movies and things that I like. Some of the things I like you can't even get because they're only streamed. But there's something about that ownership. There's something about quality products and the connection that we have with them. I'm sure we can all remember back when we were kids and there were certain things that we owned. I know when I was a kid, you know, having kids now have hundreds, thousands of things that just fall through their hand every week and get tossed in the corner of the room. But when I was a kid, that wasn't really the case. You didn't have a lot of possessions. You didn't have a lot of things. You weren't getting bought things every week. And I remember having a shoebox with a collection of some of my prized possessions and just a whole random bunch of things. And I would give anything to have that shoebox back now. Sometimes I'll scroll through eBay and pick up some of the things I used to own. And it's very sad to me because I'll think of something I used to own or something I used to want and try to get it, and it's not easily available. And all those possessions, all those things that were made, that were crafted, quality items, you can get a lot of them. But things aren't easily available and things are becoming rarer. And there's going to come a point where, these things largely disappear. 100 years, 200 years. And I find that immensely sad. I find it very sad that there's certain Blu-rays that I'm trying to get a hold of and I just can't get them. I saw the price of some of them and I ordered them and then I canceled it. And I was just like, that this is crazy. But I wish I kept it because then they kind of disappeared from the marketplace, and I'm sure they'll return at some point. I'm sure I'll pick them up. But what is it about physical possessions, man? Like ownership, you appreciate them so much more. Like I've really been working hard to get off my phone over the last year or two. I was addicted, 17 hours a day maybe, and a lot of that was just background listening or watching. But I knew how damaging it was. I mean, I didn't when I was right in the midst of it, but over a period of time, I realized how damaging that was to me. And you're probably distracting yourself from a lot of things in your life. But that's not very healthy. So I've been purchasing more physical media, books, movies, music, and it's been a tricky process. It's been sort of tricky to get along with. One thing I've done very well with is the movies, like what I watch. I'll still watch some YouTube videos and the occasional movie online, but mostly I just watch stuff on my TV through my Blu-ray player and books as well. I used to love reading books, but we stopped reading books. I mean, I do. I did audio books and then I just kind of stopped. But I've gone back to books and books, even just novels. Of just random stories and stuff. You really get something out of that, like you just don't get from movies. And one of the things I'm trying to do right now is to put my phone across the other side of the room when I'm sleeping. And that's quite tricky for me, but it's taken me a long time, but I've started to do it. But then I realized I don't have a clock. I have my laptop near me so I can pick that up. But I want to get to a place where I move my laptop away. My sleep quality is improved, but it will be, I only wake up generally once, but it would be nice if I didn't wake up once. Those nights, those lucky few of you out there who sleep all the way through, that's a great feeling, isn't it? That'll happen to me once a month, and it's great. And I wonder what it would feel like to do that like every night. You know, I think you'd be in a completely different headspace. So I realized that I needed a clock, and then I started to look for clocks. And what kind of clock did I want? At one time I always wanted a grandfather clock, and maybe I'll get one. And then I'm looking at some great old, fantastic pieces that go on the wall. You can pay 200 quid for an old clock, an old, good looking, decent clock. But if it's what you want, then so what? But there's something about that, of getting the possessions that really speak to you. Because I guess, well, I know I do. You fill your house, not fill, but you put in your house stuff that it's kind of functional, but you don't really care about. And what is that as people that we used to have a big relationship with our possessions. Now we don't. That's all throwaway stuff. You replace your sofa every few years. Whereas in the past, you might have got a really great piece, expensive piece that lasted for 10 plus years. And it kind of depressed me a lot looking for these old clocks because I was sad that that quality stuff just isn't really available anymore. And why did we move to mass produce crap? I mean, it's not crap. It's, some of it looks good, looks pretty good, but there's no real quality in it. No real quality of materials anymore. It's all very cheap stuff designed to look good. I was in you know, a well-known store yesterday looking at furniture, and the furniture looked great until you look like just even slightly closer. Beautiful wood effect side cabinets and things. Until you look and you notice the display item has a scratch on it, which you can see it's just veneer and just very thin veneer as well, like maybe 1 or 2 millimeters thick. So the slightest scratch is going to go down to the chipboard or wood composite underneath. But that was never the case at one point. You know, Wooden cabinets and things were made of wood. They weren't made of wood chip, MDF, that kind of stuff. And I think they were expensive back then. So they're probably cheaper now than what we would have paid for them back then, unless it's a really good one. But no, it probably is. It's even cheaper now to get that stuff, but it seems so much more expensive. I mean, back in the day, you would have probably paid the equivalent of morning. Yeah, how you doing? Aye, aye. So you would have. Oh, perfect timing. Uh, well, maybe it'll clear it for you. Yeah, give me some drugs. Give me some drugs. Give me some drugs. Yeah, priorities. Take it easy. Yeah, who cares about health? Get that holiday. Isn't that tough when life's so stressful that the holiday becomes the priority? But then again, when I was a kid, you get one holiday a year, and if you were ill for it, oh, nightmare. You know, Back then, everybody would graft very hard. I mean, everybody's worked, haven't they? They've worked the whole time. Nothing's changed, and you would just graft and get your 2 weeks off, and completely let loose. I think people, I don't know, I think people probably don't even work as hard now as they used to. Like everybody used to work solid 9 to 5. Your job was your identity. Hey, maybe it still is. I operate in different circles, and I did from my early 20s, earlier. So, yeah, possessions is a funny thing for me. And the world is trying to move towards being possessionless. I think materialism. Well, I don't think we'll move away from materialism. I think, if anything, it will probably get more so. The things we buy will be different. The tech we use, the iPhones and smartwatches, and then you'll have the AR glasses and whatever chip implants and things they want to put in us. And that will be a large status thing. Who's got the fastest bionics, who's got the best chip implants. Man, things are changing. But I don't think we have to. I don't think who we are, what we are as humans, has to fundamentally change. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to not only hold on to, but deepen my humanity. And I think humanity is a very individualistic thing. We're moving away from the individual as a society. I think relationships with one another are important. But I think the relationship you have with yourself is the most important thing. Is your relationship with your possessions an important part of that? I would say so. Yeah, something about the clocks that I was looking at today, this morning. What is that? Reclaiming a piece of history, thinking about time differently. A clock seems to, an analog clock, it just seems to operate more slowly than a digital clock. It doesn't. No, I'm guessing it doesn't. But the psychological effect of an analog clock is so much different to a digital clock. A digital clock, it's like a countdown almost. An analog clock, nicely designed one. Just lets you know roughly where you're at, if you want to know. You may always be aware of the time, generally speaking, without specifically looking at the time. When you specifically look at the time, you know you're always late for something. You know you've always got something coming up, something to do. Why do we always have something to do? Could we have something to be instead? Right now, I'm relaxing. I know I have some other things to do. Knowing what you want to do is quite a tricky thing. I think you have to relax enough and do so little before you know what it is you really want to do rather than what you have to do. Yeah, relaxing and doing nothing is harder than doing something. Hmm. I was sat on a bench in town yesterday, and one of those girls, those black-headed girls, one of them has only got one leg, and sometimes he used to come down and feed, and I would feed him. He was the first one that sort of made me like the girls, and he's such a beautiful creature, the one-legged one. I don't know why. I don't know if it's just you know pulling my pity or nurturing instincts. Hi, man. I'm just doing a little video. If you hear me talking to myself, seen quite a few jumping this morning. Yeah, man.